All right, so you're just wrapping up the lesson from yesterday, which is on standard form. There was just a few examples that we did not get to. And then you'll take your exit ticket, even though it's not like at the end of class, you'll take that right after. I was going to leave it for the end of class, but then I didn't want to confuse you by like teaching you new stuff and then whatever. So we're just going to take it right after we finish those last few examples. And you should be using those entrance/exit tickets to really gauge like where you're studying. So if you're getting like a 10 out of 10 on the slope-intercept form entrance ticket, but you're getting a 0 out of 10 on the point-slope form, then you probably need to practice the point-slope form more. So we'll talk about that more, but that's where you should really be focusing your study. And I always put it open to view your submission after fifth hour. All right, because that's when all my students have taken it. So that's when you guys can look at it and see which ones you missed. You can do corrections if you want to, and you really should be. That way you're improving your grade and preparing for that topic test. So what you'll be tested on today is, can you write equations in standard form? Can you identify X and Y intercepts? Can you convert from slope-intercept form to standard form and vice versa, and then modeling with standard form? So all good stuff there. Then we will start the 2-4 lesson, which is about parallel and perpendicular lines. I'll talk more about the success criteria when we get there, but that'll be today too. So that's why there's like 2 sets of objectives. And then here's the lessons from the past 2 days, because it was like shorter lessons on standard form. And then I'm recording now, I'll post it later. And then I'll record again when we do the parallel and perpendicular lines. So lots of good resources to help you prepare for your topic 2 test. You had the practice since Friday for lesson 2-3. So once you finish your exit ticket, make sure it's turned in. Don't just sit around waiting for everyone to be done. Work on something productive. Make sure your stuff is turned in. And then I did give you a few things today. All right, so you picked up the worksheet for 2-4. That's the lesson that we're starting today, so you probably won't be able to do much on that one yet. And then you also picked up a packet. That is your topic 2 test review. And it says in like big bold letters at the top that it is optional, but it is an extra credit opportunity. So if you fully complete it and show your work, then I will give you 5 extra credit points in the assessment category just for doing it. And I highly recommend that you do it, or at least look at it, use it as a study guide. Like if you got a 0 out of 10 on the point-slope form, maybe do the ones that ask about point-slope form, and you'll see them again on the test. It looks just like the actual test, just different numbers. So, use that as your study guide. Questions about that? All right, so again, that's an extra credit opportunity. Those don't come by often. So really use that to help you study and get your grade up. And then here's the schedule for assessments this week. We are still having the topic 2 test this Friday. That's Form A, so bring your notes. And, we'll keep going after that. Any other questions? All right, so then here's where I think we left off in the notes. Did we finish this example? We went over what the right answer is. All right, so then we'll do the class example. All right, so here is the class example. Oops, I did not want to do that. No. Okay, I don't know what it is. All right, so here's the class example. The instructions that are up here should already be written at the top because it's the same instructions for all 3 problems. Like you should have wrote that in yesterday. If it's not there, just write it in now. So we're going to be changing equations from slope-intercept form into standard form. So what is slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b. But it wants our answer to be in standard form. So what format is that? Ax plus by equals c. And then this down here, you can write for the class example. In the class example box, write y equals 4x minus 18. Now there are two things though about A that we need to make sure of so that it is truly in standard form. So what was one of the two things? A must be positive. And what else did I show you yesterday? A must be a whole number. So write it there. If it's not written already, write it somewhere, star it, highlight it. Because if your A value is negative and it's not a whole number, it's not actually correct, right? Or it's not actually in standard form. So for this one, if I want to make this look more like standard form, then what term needs to move to the other side? The 4x, good. And how do I move it? Good. So it's positive on this side. The only way to make it cancel would be to subtract the same thing. And whatever you do on one side, you do to the other side. Any questions there? So then on the left side, are these like terms? No. So I really should just be rewriting it. So it's negative 4x, and then is that y positive or negative? So it should be plus y. All right, it's starting to look more like standard form. On the right side, the 4x's cancel. What remains? Negative 18. All right, don't just say 18. All right, now we're almost done. It looks like standard form, but is A positive? No. Is it a whole number though? Yes. Yes, so we just have to make it so that A is now positive. What can I do to make that happen? Divide by -1. Now you can't just do it to the A value. If you're doing it to the A value, then you have to do it to all of them. All right, you have to do it to all of the terms. And then we get -4 divided by -1, which is 4x. Y divided by -1, which is, and -18 divided by -1. Positive 18, right? So notice all the signs basically switch. That's what you do when you divide by -1. The sign changes. And now does this look like true standard form? Yes. Yes, so we can box that up and that's our answer. Questions about that? All right, I'm gonna put up the student example. So if you're still writing, you know, wrap it up. All right, let's still write. Okay, so here's a student example. So y equals -1/2 x minus 10. Convert that to standard form. So what is standard form again? What does it look like? Good. What term needs to move to the other side? The x term, right? How can I make it cancel out? Adding 1/2 x. I did have some students think that we needed to multiply it by the reciprocal. I don't know, maybe they were thinking of like isolating x, right? This time we're just moving it. We're not necessarily canceling it out completely, right? We want to move it. So think about what you need to do to get it to be 0 on this side. All right, so that cancels out there. On the left side, we have 1/2 x plus y. On the right side, what remains? -10. So don't forget that negative sign. Then is A positive? Yes, A is positive, but is it a whole number? So we need to make it a whole number. How can I make it a whole number? Multiply it by the denominator. It doesn't matter what fraction it is. It could be 2/3, it could be 5/6, it could be anything. If you multiply it by just the denominator, this time it's a 2, that'll cancel out the fraction. But just remember what you have to do it to the entire equation. You can't just do it to the one part. It's going to be 2 times y and -10 times 2. Does that make sense? So what's my new coefficient? The number in front of the x, what is it going to be? Nope. 1, right? Or we can just write it as x. And then what's 2 times y? So plus 2y equal to -10 times 2, which is -20. All right, is the b allowed to be positive? Is the c allowed to be negative? Right, there's no rules for like the b and the c, right? It just has to be that a is positive and it's a whole number. Questions? All right, so that wraps up the lesson. Does anyone have any like general questions over standard form? Anything that you're still confused about before you do the exercise? All right, I would have my notes out from not only today, but like yesterday and Friday, because that's all of standard form. Because remember, you can use your notes, you just cannot talk to each other. All right, so have them out. I'm gonna give you a password for the entrance ticket now.